Donovan Mitchell is not worth it.
If the Pistons are going to go this route to get an all-star, it will come in the trade market, guys. It will.
What it would take to get Donovan Mitchell, I'm not going to lie, Pistons don't have it. And if they do, it would decimate their team.
That's the risk reward that every GM has to face, is when do you cash in the chips?
It got me going a little bit when I saw the news that the Utah Jazz are looking to trade Donovan Mitchell. And it's funny to me how everybody's kind of done a 180 on Donovan Mitchell around here. It was universal hate for the dude, right? Yeah. But it wasn't even a year ago. Everyone's like, "Oh, I can't believe we didn't draft Donovan Mitchell." Which way do we want it here? And I tasked Chris and Sam Flannel. Now, Sam Flannel, I want to hear your trade package. And basically, I'm playing the part of Jazz management. And here's where I'm coming from with it. Next year, not this season upcoming, but the next season after that. If I'm Utah, I have Donovan Mitchell and Mike Conley still under contract for around $57 million. And the Utah Jazz, I think, are in a dangerous purgatory right now where holding pat does nothing but hurt you further because you're either ascending or you're tearing down, one of the two. So I believe they do have to move Donovan Mitchell, and they do have to do it quickly. And a $30 million guy, you got to throw in some dead weight contract to make that work. I am surprised. And look, you cannot like what Chris had to say in terms of what it'll take to get him, but that is along the lines of what it'll take to get him. Now that I think Chris's package does a little more in the tangible player side. You could mix and match, I think, with like future draft assets and stuff like that. Like you can work that, you can massage that a little bit. But that is the business I'm in if I'm Utah. That's what it's going to take. I'm surprised by the universal hatred of Donovan Mitchell by Pistons fans.
Everybody wants him until you have to pay for him.
And that's it. That is it. So Sam Flannel, I give you the floor. Now you play the part of Troy Weaver. Make me trade you Donovan Mitchell.
Well, let me just defend the Pistons fans and the whole Donovan Mitchell thing first of all. We drafted Luke Kennard instead of him, and the Pistons, they could have had him as a draft pick. That's the whole issue. They'll never get over it, and I don't blame him. It was a bad pick. And second of all, what it would take to get Donovan Mitchell, I'm not going to lie, the Pistons don't have it. And if they do, it would decimate their team. So I'm actually not going to answer. I would say they'd have to give up a guy like Jaden Ivey, maybe even a Duren, a Sadiq Bey, first-round picks, maybe a Killian, Beef Stew. I'd be okay with getting rid of them, by the way. But just an amazing haul of players and draft picks. And I don't think that Donovan Mitchell is worth kind of decimating a lot of your core and your future draft capital for.
Sam Flannel just said that he is not picking up the phone.
So when they call, not placing the phone call.
No. Or answering the phone call when the Donovan Mitchell's people call. He wants none of it. He likes his teams. Is that more too because, Sam, you like where your team's at and you want to see more to it? Or is it more to, in the Donovan Mitchell case, you know what you're going to get?
I mean, I would be okay with picking up the phone call and trying to swindle them. They would have to be really stupid to give up a terrible package. But yeah, it's definitely more, I like our direction. I don't want to decimate the core. And Donovan Mitchell is not worth it. Donovan Mitchell is a great player, but not a superstar.
Leads me to my question. Is there somebody out there that is?
Not that's available.
So there you go. Wow. So when we talk about the Pistons and we talk about the Red Wings in the same sort of ilk like LCA, that maybe that guy out there that you're going to mortgage your future or do anything to that level isn't out there yet for either one of them. Hence to what it is, to the conversation. So I agree. And what I like to see is that it tells me that no matter what, people want to see more of what this young core here in Detroit can do.
Yeah, Lane Hartman. And look, people are defending Chris a little bit here. Lane Hartman says, we know that he's just answering the question. Wasn't saying that that's what the Pistons should do. He's correct, and also correct in that we shouldn't do it, as DMAC brought up earlier. Donovan Strong says, don't shut this man's mic off. He told the truth on what it would take to get Donovan Mitchell, LOL. So, there are people that do understand it. I have this here from Bill Niza that says, don't we want Ivy to basically be a bigger, better, non-dip-ish version of Spider? Kind of like we wanted Duren to turn into a better version of Ayton. We basically traded Grant for the 13th pick. We could have done sign and trade Grant for Ayton. I don't think you even get involved with this. And I'm not calling for it by any means. I'm just saying I think Troy Weaver suspects and knows if the Pistons are going to go this route to get an all-star, it will come in the trade market, guys. It will.
Yeah, it has to. It has to be the trade market. That's why you build all these picks and all these young players, because truth be told, all these players we like now because they're on a rookie contract, but when you have to pay Beef Stew, when you have to pay Killian, when you have to pay Sadiq, when you have to pay, we're looking at it with Donovan Mitchell. There are people around the league that don't like Donovan at $30 million, even though he's a good player. There's questions of, how good, where can he be on a team that's super successful? Is he year one? Is he year two? What do you have to have around him? How easy or difficult is it to construct a roster? So for the Pistons, Pistons fans want things to play out with the young guys, and I think that's a good strategy. But you spoke to it with Jaden Ivey and Duren, wanting Duren to be Ayton and wanting Ivey to be Donovan. The thing is that we don't know that they're going to be, and that's a tough position that every GM always faces, is potential versus reality, because there's going to be right now. Let's say Jaden Ivey, his value around the league is very high. People like him. People think he's going to be a dynamic guard in the future. Maybe in a couple of seasons, he doesn't look that way. Like with Killian. Killian, his draft comp was James Harden. I think that was ridiculous. Yeah, but there was teams around the league that really liked Killian. And now a couple years later, we see, okay, he's a nice guy. Everybody would like to have Killian. You need that kind of third guard off the bench that can play, make, and defend. But he's a role player now. He's not a star. So that's a risk. That's a risk reward that every GM has to face. Is when do you cash in the chips? But you're 100% right that Detroit has to do it by trade.
And here's the other thing too. And I was listening to some NBA people talk actually on the way in this morning, and they did some interesting research where I forget what the exact number is. So you have to forgive me on this, but this just gives you an idea of how things are going. Since they redid the CBA and introduced the Supermax contract, where they shorten the term but raise the money because owners always need to be protected from themselves because they were signing, Juwan Howard was like the highest paid guy in the NBA when he was, 2 years from retiring, because they could never stop themselves. But I believe there's been 18-ish Supermax contracts signed since they redid the CBA. Only 4 of those players have finished that contract with the team that they signed with. This is the way that it goes. Yeah.
Wow. Hey, so way to protect yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just like you didn't even protect yourself. Would you put a seatbelt on with dental floss? I mean, it's. They still can't protect themselves. That's such a true statement, though.
I do want to prep people too. When you do make these, you are going to have to give up something to get something at some point, whenever that day comes. Mm-hmm. So just everybody be prepared for that. But it's one of those things where, I asked the guys to come correct. Chris came correct, and you made me think about that. You did, and I didn't immediately dismiss that. You didn't tell me, hey, I'll give you, I'll give you Olynyk and Nerlens Noel and Beef Stew and Killian Hayes and a first-round pick.
G League triple-double machine, Saban Lee.
You interested?
I could also sweeten the deal.
You interested?
No Cruz.
Yeah. yeah.
If you twist my arm.
You sweeten the pot a little bit there. No, but you didn't come with that because that's not realistic, man. I do have to say, as the honorable Utah Jazz GM, I would work the phone lines on that. I would for sure. I would say, okay, now let me go see what else is popping out here. But you didn't make me hang up on you. I will say that. So that is pretty, that is pretty impressive, D-Man.